Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And if you are new, then please like, share, and subscribe my channel. Most men overthink attraction, far more than they realize. They sit with their phones, staring at the screen, wondering what to say next. They analyze every message they send. They replay conversations in their mind, looking for hidden meanings, missed signals, or mistakes that don't even exist. Instead of feeling confident, they feel tense. Instead of being present, they're chasing clarity. Should I text now? Did I say too much? Did I say too little? Why hasn't she replied yet? This constant mental noise is exhausting. And ironically, it's exactly what pushes attraction further away. Here's the truth most men never hear. Attraction is not created by effort. It's not built through constant texting, over-explaining, or trying to prove interest. Attraction is created by emotional impact. It's about how someone feels after the interaction ends. What lingers in the silence. What echoes when the conversation is over. You don't stay on someone's mind because you tried harder than everyone else. You stay there because something about your presence felt different. That difference doesn't come from saying more. It comes from saying the right thing, at the right moment, with the right energy. And sometimes, the smallest shift in how you speak can change everything. There are 3 simple words that do exactly that. Not obvious, not dramatic, but powerful enough to stay with her long after you go quiet. And to understand why they work, you first need to understand how attraction truly begins. Many men grow up believing that attraction is something you build by doing more. More messages, more explanations, more effort to show interest, care, and consistency. On the surface, this sounds logical. If you invest more, you should get more back. But attraction doesn't work on effort alone, especially at the emotional level. Overcommunication is one of the fastest ways interest begins to fade. When everything is explained, nothing is felt. When every thought is shared immediately, there's no space left for curiosity. Excessive effort quietly reduces emotional value, because it removes tension. And tension, not pressure, is what keeps attraction alive. When someone feels that they already have full access to you, mind stops wondering. This isn't about playing games or withholding respect, it's about understanding emotional balance. Interest cannot be forced, no matter how kind the intention is. The more you push for reassurance, the more the natural flow breaks. Attraction needs freedom to grow, not pressure to respond. When effort turns into emotional noise, connection becomes heavy, instead of exciting. And what once felt light and intriguing, starts to feel predictable. True attraction builds when presence feels chosen, not demanded. And when interest is invited, not chased. Attraction doesn't begin in the logical part of the mind. It begins emotionally. Before reason steps in, feeling arrives first. That's why someone can look perfect on paper and still feel forgettable, while another person with no obvious advantages feels deeply compelling. Feelings always come before logic. Perfection may look impressive, but it rarely creates connection. Polished words, flawless behavior, or a carefully curated image can catch attention, but they don't hold it. What stays is how someone makes you feel in their presence. Emotional presence matters more than appearance or status, because it creates safety, curiosity, and warmth. A calm tone, genuine attention, and grounded energy communicate far more than looks or achievements ever could. When someone feels emotionally seen, the experience becomes meaningful, not just attractive. This is especially true beneath conscious awareness. Much of attraction happens below the surface, where logic has little control. Women often experience attraction as a sense, not a checklist. It shows up as comfort, intrigue, or emotional resonance, not as a clear reason that can be easily explained. That's why attraction can feel confusing or unexpected. It's not chosen consciously, it's felt. And once emotion is activated, logic doesn't create attraction, it simply explains it later. People don't remember exact words the way we think they do. They remember how someone made them feel. You might forget the sentence. You might forget the timing. But the emotion stays. That's because the human mind doesn't store conversations like recordings. It stores emotional impressions. Moments that carry feeling are tagged as meaningful, while everything else slowly fades into the background. This is called emotional anchoring. When an interaction creates warmth, curiosity, calm, or intrigue, the mind links that feeling to the person who caused it. Later, the feeling returns, sometimes without any clear reason, and the person's name comes with it. That's why certain interactions linger long after they're over. Not because they were dramatic or intense, but because they touched something subtle and real. You've felt this before. Someone crosses your mind out of nowhere. No message, no reminder, just a quiet emotional echo. That's not coincidence. It's memory doing what it was designed to do. Some people stay in the mind longer because they create emotional depth instead of noise. They don't overload conversations with words. They leave space for feeling. And in that space the mind keeps returning, not to what was said, but to how it felt. Most people are forgotten not because they lack value, but because they sound the same. Safe, generic conversations fade because they don't create a moment. Polite words pass through the mind without leaving a mark. They don't spark emotion, curiosity, or imagination, and without those, memory has had to hold on to. What makes someone memorable is not saying more, but saying something that feels different. Novelty wakes the brain up. It breaks the pattern of routine interactions and signals that something is worth noticing. But novelty alone is not enough. A clever line without emotional weight disappears just as quickly as a boring one. If novelty doesn't carry feeling, warmth, intrigue, calm, or presence, it becomes noise instead of impact. Emotion is what gives novelty depth. It's the difference between a moment that entertains and a moment that lingers. Space and silence play a powerful role here. When every gap is filled with words, curiosity has no room to grow. Silence creates tension, and tension invites imagination. In that space, the mind begins to wonder. And what the mind wonders about, it returns to. This is how emotional curiosity forms. Not through pressure, but through presence. Not through constant contact, but through moments that leave something unfinished, and therefore unforgettable. Now let's talk about application, and do it the right way. The 3 words are simple. I appreciate you, not dramatic, not intense. And that's exactly why they work. These words don't demand anything. They don't push for a reaction, they simply express genuine recognition. And that creates emotional safety. But words alone are never enough. When and how you say them matters more than the words themselves. They work best after a shared moment, a calm conversation, a small act of understanding, something real. Said too early, they feel empty. Said too often, they lose meaning. But said naturally, in a grounded, relaxed tone, they land softly and stay. Tone should be calm, not heavy. Timing should feel earned, not planned. And the intention should never be to impress or secure attention. That's why these words should never feel rehearsed. The moment someone senses strategy, the emotional effect disappears. I appreciate you works because it leaves space. It doesn't ask for validation in return. It doesn't trap the moment. It simply acknowledges presence and lets the feeling breathe. And when something is said without pressure, the mind holds on to it longer than anything forced ever could. Real understanding begins when you stop chasing and start being present. Chasing comes from anxiety, the need to secure attention, reassurance, or certainty. Presence comes from calm, and calm is what creates emotional gravity. When you shift from chasing to presence, the dynamic changes. You're no longer trying to be chosen, you're allowing connection to form naturally. This is where emotional intelligence matters. It's the ability to read energy, respect space, and respond, rather than react. Emotionally intelligent men don't rush moments. They don't fill silence with noise. They understand that attraction grows in emotional safety, not pressure. Respect is part of that intelligence. Respect for her pace, respect for her feelings, and respect for yourself. Calm confidence doesn't announce itself, it's felt. It shows in how you listen, how you speak, and how you let moments unfold without control. Authenticity ties it all together. When you stop performing and start showing up as you are, connection becomes real, not strategic. So here's the reflection. Attraction isn't something you force, it's something you allow, and awareness of that truth is what turns effort into ease, and attention into genuine connection.